Hey YouTube, it's Will from Will Brett Design here. So today we're just going to have a look at the best way to set up your Figma document, not only for handover but for keeping it nice and tidy and also having a nice cover image. So the first thing we're going to do is take a look at the cover image. So what we need to do is, if we just scroll up here, this is the guidelines that Figma have provided. So what they're saying is we need a frame of 1920 by 960, so let's do that, 1920 by 960. There we go. So that is our cover frame. So let's just call that cover. And then we have a safe zone. So that safe zone is the same in height, so we can make the same height, but width is 1600. So let's do that, and let's center that, and just make sure that's correct. So now we can come in here and pull our ruler out, and there we go, we've got a nice safe zone. If you can't see your rulers, you can just hold down Shift and press R to either show or hide them. So let's delete that, and that is our cover ready to go. So we can fill that with whatever content we want, images, nice header explaining what the file's called. So we won't be doing that now, but that's something we can do in the future. So next we want to add a new page, and this page we are going to call, this is going to be our design page. So there we go. So this is where we're going to keep all our design files, and these are the files ready to be handed over to development or whoever needs to have them handed over to. So another page we're going to need is Handoff. So you could argue that Handoff and design are essentially the same thing, but what I like to do is design is for all the screens and Handoff is for notes and more documentation around kind of components, the screens themselves, just giving that developer or whoever's going to be taking on your design more context as to how it works. So the next thing is prototypes. I like to have a separate page for my prototypes, keeps my file nice and clean. Inside prototypes, that is where you'd have probably a bit of overlap with design, but with all your files linked and how they would work. You could also do prototypes of components here, so just an individual frame with an individual component showing all the different states of that component. You could also provide notes here, but the main idea is this is where your prototypes would live, and it's nice and tidy. It keeps design specific for design screens, and Handoff can be where all your notes are. So the next one is Sandbox. So Sandbox, this is where I do all my kind of conceptual work. This is where I'm going to be doing all my working files. So this is probably the page I spend the most time in. This is where I create everything, and then when they're ready I move them out into the appropriate page. Another important one is components. So if you're not using a design system or a design library in a separate file, you could keep all your components in a separate page so they're not living and messing up all your other design pages. So what I like to do is I like to separate these out with some dividers. So I'm just going to add a divider in between Sandbox and components. This is because this is my working area and I don't really want this to be confused with my other areas, so I'm just going to put these lines in here to separate them. Same goes for between my cover and my design. Cover's only for a nice look of the document, it doesn't actually provide any of the design documents, so we can separate that one too. You can go a step further by adding some emojis, so I'm just going to pull these across from another file I have. So you can choose whichever emoji you like. These are the ones I like to use. Here we go. So I just think that makes it look a lot nicer and you can read the different pages much easier now. So one more quick tip before I go. Inside your cover you can actually provide links to other pages. So if we were to go in here and let's make this quite big. Call this quick links. Whack that in there. And then what we could do is make that a bit smaller. Come in here and create quick links to, you could create links to documentation that's outside of Figma, video recordings of how to use the Figma document or how to work through the prototype for those who haven't used Figma before. Perhaps you want to link to Jira tickets or other things like that. You can do all that here. So for example, let me just do a link to design. I'm going to add a pipe there, and then let's do one for handoff, another pipe, and then I'm going to add one for prototype, if I can spell it right. And then what I'm going to do is just right click over here, copy link to page, and this is really useful. Up here you've got this little link, add that in there, do the same for handoff, and do the same for prototypes. Like I said before, this doesn't have to be for pages inside Figma. This could be web pages, links to YouTube, anything like that really. It doesn't have to be inside the document. And then when the person you've handed your document over to comes to see the cover page, they can see, oh, okay, here's some links to some references about the project I'm handing them, perhaps links to the Jira ticket or links to video recordings you've created, anything like that. And then they can go here, click go to page, and it will open that page. As we can see, we're now in handoff. So that's another quick tip for the cover. So that's everything for this video. I've not actually created any content, but this is just how I like to lay out my documents, and hopefully this will help you come up with your own ideas on how to do this, or let me know if there's any better ideas in the comments below, any best practices you use, and let me know if you use this design. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next